A new book called Project 562 is a photographic celebration of contemporary Native American life, but it also serves as a testament to the many different ways life and culture can impact a person's Native identity. Matika Wilbur spent a decade traveling around the U.S. interviewing and photographing people whose stories are as unique as the tribes they call home, and she joins me now. Thank you for being here. Now, you have a very specific way of introducing yourself, so please will you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, good afternoon, relatives. My name is Matika Wilbur. I'm from the Swinomish and Tulalip tribes. Haslahale, good day. Thank you for having me here.
I love that. What a great introduction. This is fabulous. This book is phenomenal. It's gorgeous. There's so many things. Tell me what it represents.
Well, first of all, like today's launch day, it's a real book.
I'm feeling your vibes. I love this.
Girl, it has been 10 years in the making, okay? I started in 2012, and I went on an epic sojourn from Washington through California and all around all 50 states to photograph and interview and make stories with over 500 tribes in the United States. And so
I am actually so honored and thrilled that we get to be here as part of your launch day and as this excitement grows. You said you want the book to change the way we see Native Americans. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, you know, historically our people have been terribly misrepresented. You know, it's not a secret. Native people are vastly underrepresented. We still celebrate holidays like Thanksgiving. We tell lies about Columbus. You know, many of the ideas that we celebrate in this country, like pioneering or westward expansion, even manifest destiny, all of those impact the way that people think about Native America, the way that people make public policies that impact our lives, that impact funding for Indian health services. You know, 1 in 4 Native people died from COVID. That's directly related to people in power making poor decisions about what's happening with our indigenous communities.
So many disparities that we've seen, missing people, missing women and children and girls. You know, it's got to be a lot of layers that you've taken on here. And I looked through the book, and every story is so unique. Every story is so powerful. I did love when you photograph so beautifully as well. I was looking at the one photo, I think we have it, of the Yellowtail brothers. The aesthetic of this picture is phenomenal. But I love it. It's beautiful. But you were very clear to say, you know, this is beautiful, but this is not representative of ranch life. I like that you were so transparent. Why was that so important for you to make sure that you were, you know, saying, like, this is the art, but this is also not the truth of what they do every day?
Yeah. Well, you know, in the book, there's a profile of Stephen Yellowtail on the page before where he talks you know, deeply about his experience as a rancher, as a scientist, and then, you know, going back to his cowboy life out there in his community. But, you know, I think it's really important to share agency with the subjects. In each of the photographs that I took, I spent time with people in their homes. I interviewed them for days at a time. When I was writing the book, I sent the profiles to the people. I sent them their images, asked for their input, and when I sent that to the Yellowtail brothers, they're like, "All right, you can put that in your book." But just to be clear,
we're not laying around.
No, we do work here on.
No, but I thought that was key because there is that intersection of art and representation and being honest. And speaking of intersections, there's so much intersectionality in the characters and the people that you feature in this book. People are dealing with so many different layers. Can you actually tell me what the title means, Project 562? What does it mean? What does the title mean?
Yeah, well, when I started the project in 2012, there were 562 federally recognized tribes in the United States. And, you know, when I look back on it, I think that may have been short-sighted, you know, because I didn't realize that I would also go to visit urban Indian centers and state-recognized tribes and tribes who are still fighting for federal recognition. I would also go visit relatives in indigenous communities around the world. And so, you know, if you look at the book, the logo, it was designed by Sean Peterson. And, you know, he put that traditional Coast Salish design in there that reminds us to be like water, you know, and inside it, we know that the trigon and the crescent symbol and the three of those together remind us that it goes on forever. And that really, you know, I aimed to photograph all the tribes in the United States. I went to about 400 tribal communities. I photographed about 1,200 people. I logged like 600,000 miles, but I certainly didn't visit every tribe, you know, that there is.
So it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
My last question for you, your home tribes, Swinomish and Tulalip, they've been big supporters of this project. Tell me what their enthusiasm represents for you, having that backing.
You know, when I finally got the book in the mail, I took it to visit with my tribal councils, both in Swinomish and in Tulalip. And I asked them if they would support the book launch. You know, this book I started this work because I wanted our children to have the opportunity to see themselves reflected in books, in narratives, in television. You know, 92% of textbooks across the country represent Native people in a pre-1900 context. Yeah. That's time to change. And so for me, when I went to my tribal community, I asked them, you know, will you support this book? Will you give this away to our people? And Swinomish bought hundreds of copies. And tonight we're going to give that away to my community.
I love that.
You know? Yeah. And Tulalip did the same thing. You know, they bought over 1,000 copies and they're giving them away. Tomorrow I'm going to 3 different schools in Snohomish County.
And giving them away?
And I'm giving books away to all the students in all of those places. And I feel so loved and supported by my community, and I just, you know, want to make sure that I raise my hands to my community and say Tigritsi, thank you relatives for supporting this work, and thank you for having me here. It feels like a great honor to get to share these stories, to be the carrier of these stories, and I hope that, you know, the book is launching today, but I really hope that it's received in the spirit in which it was made.
It is beautiful. The stories are compelling. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your big day with us. I am so excited. And of course, Matika, she's having a book launch celebration and blessing in Swinomish tonight, tomorrow in Tulalip, and then Thursday she'll be in Seattle. She will be at Elliott Bay Books. We're going to have all the links to the events on our website.